There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with my Irish Readathon TBR. This is an annual event. It's one of the high points of my reading year, and certainly my BookTube year every year in March. The Irish Readathon. As usual, the sponsors, the organizers are Aoife, Words of Clover, and I saw her announcement video. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Also, Leanne Rose, and they have come up with some interesting prompts, but as usual, I'm just going my own way, and I have a short TBR this year, shorter than in years past, because I'm trying to leave enough room in my reading life for some spontaneity and to read books that are on my shelf or on my Kindle that don't happen to pertain to any readathon, because those ones get pushed off to the side. But that's not what I'm here to talk about in this video. I am here to talk about Irish history and literature. I am reading a bit of both this year. The first one that I want to tell you about is a book that will probably take me at least the rest of the year to finish, if not longer, because this is a book which I plan to take my sweet time reading. This is the collected stories of Elizabeth Bowen. Elizabeth Bowen is the goddess of Irish literature, British literature, and I picked up her collected stories, which is 860 pages. I don't know how many stories, but probably well over 100. 79 stories, and I have only read one of her novels, The Last September, which I loved, but she's a very dense writer. Her prose is not something that you can read in a light way. You need to really concentrate, and it repays such concentration. So it might take me 79 weeks or more to read this, but I'm going to start it during the Irish Readathon. If you haven't read any Elizabeth Bowen, and you don't mind densely literary writing, you're in for a real treat. To compensate for the fact that that is a tome of a book, I am also reading a novella that is only 90 pages, and that is by Claire Keegan. I read her most recent novella. One of the very last books I read in 2021 was her Small Things Like These, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm going to pick up an earlier work by her. I believe it was published in 2010. Foster. A small girl is sent to live with foster parents on a farm in the countryside of Ireland. That sounds fabulous. And that is it for fiction. The other two are non-fiction. What the hell's going on with Sean the Book Maniac? But I feel like I talked about this for the Dewithon, the Welsh Readathon. I put that TBR up last night. Reading the literature of both countries, Wales and Ireland. I get a fair amount of the history and culture from Google reading, things that I'm not familiar with, idioms or untranslated words or historical references, cultural references. I Google everything. But I know I have significant deficits, gaps in my knowledge of Irish history and culture, so I am going to take a step towards remedying that. I asked my reading buddy, the Irish novelist Ronan Hession, for some advice. What work of popular history or Irish history that wasn't too terribly long did he recommend? And he recommended this one. And I will be doing it on ebook, provocatively titled, We Don't Know Ourselves, A Personal History of Modern Ireland by Fintan O'Toole. Very new, March 2022, in fact. It must have been published somewhere else, because that isn't even yet September 2021 in most editions. And yes, I don't think I need to say any more about it. I think it's focused on the 20th century. I would like to get more of the pre-20th century history, but I think if this really grounds me in 20th century Irish history, that will go a long way to deepening my appreciation for the literature. So yeah, I'm going to be reading that this month. And finally, the last book was put on my radar by this collection of essays by a Chinese-American writer, Ian Lee, Dear Friend, From My Life I Write to You in My Life. And this is an extraordinary collection of personal essays, autobiographical essays, where she talks about the books and the writers that helped her in large part claw her life back after a very severe episode of suicidal depression. And one of the authors that she devotes an essay to is John McGairn, and this is his famous memoir, All Will Be Well. I bought it soon after I read Dear Friend, and it was, I think, originally published in 2005. I don't know if it was originally published then, but that's the edition I have. McGairn died in 2006. He grew up one of 7 children in County Leitrim. Yeah, in 2021, I seemed to get over myself about thinking I didn't like reading memoir, so let's see if that continues with this celebrated Irish memoir. That is all I'm planning to get to, and like I say, at least one of them, possibly more than that, will take me longer than the month of March, but it's my life. I can read at the pace which fits into my life, and my life is a little bit hectic right now. If you haven't already picked out a book or 2 or 7 or 10 to read for the Irish Readathon for 2022, you must. Thanks for watching.